Hey everyone, hi. Thank you for joining me today. This is our first Facebook Live event for Fundamentals for Kids. And I'm Stacy Erickson, co-founder, along with Monica Irvin. And today we're talking about the surprising ways that good manners and etiquette are relevant, even in society today. Um, you know, what I find interesting is if I'm in a group of parents and we're talking about teaching children good manners, everyone's always on board. They're nodding their head, everyone's agreeing, yeah, this is what we really need to be doing. Um, but if I mention etiquette, all of a sudden people kind of back off, they kind of hum and haw and maybe even roll their eyes. So I thought maybe I would start out by just defining what good manners and etiquette mean to me. Um, and then we'll kind of go from there. So, having good manners is really just being conscious of the effect that our behavior has on others, and then striving to make other people feel valued and comfortable. Etiquette, on the other hand, is the identified actions we use to achieve that goal. So, for example, if we shake someone's hand when we first meet them, or if we send, a thank you letter for a gift we've received. So, the good manners are really the desire to affect others in a positive way. And then the etiquette are just the tools we use to achieve that goal. But a lot of people wonder, what does having good manners today really get us? Or more importantly, our children, right? I mean, it's nice to be nice, but as a parent today, we're thinking our children, they need to be tough, they need to be competitive, they need to be resilient. Well, I want to clarify something. Being polite is not the same thing as being a doormat. In fact, it does not mean giving up your power and letting other people take advantage of you. It's really, it's really the opposite. Having good manners is very empowering. And, research even backs it up. More and more, having good manners are becoming indicators of a person's likeliness for future success, both personally and professionally. In fact, there was a study done by Harvard University. I think it was 2017, but maybe 2018. But anyway, they found that employers were willing to pay higher salaries to those people who had good manners. And this was up and over other candidates who were technically superior. So, I mean, why is that? Excuse me. So, what's so advantageous about having good manners? I mean, today we all know rude and obnoxious people that seem to get ahead, right? Well, I'm going to suggest 4 reasons. Number one, when people feel comfortable and valued, they're a lot more likely to listen to your point of view. In fact, I mean, I can't think of any situation where a person who felt devalued said, "Oh, yeah, let me change my opinion on that." In fact, I think when we feel devalued, of course, we're going to hang on to our point of view. So that's the first one. Number two, when people feel valued and comfortable, they're a lot more likely to cooperate. And this actually, I mean, you could see this in our children as well. They do something wrong, we criticize them, and then they shut down. And then we get no cooperation. You know what it's like trying to get out the door. And they don't want to get out the door. Put your socks on. But if when we treat our children and all the people in our life uh, so that they feel valued, we're a lot more likely to gain their cooperation. And of course, this will carry over into personal relationships, but also into work. Number 3, when people feel comfortable and valued, there's a less likelihood for an escalation of conflict. And I see this so often in young couples today, where one person will say something that hurts the other's feelings, and then that person will say something back to sort of retaliate. And before you know it, it's tit for tat, and things have escalated beyond the original disagreement. But if we can teach our children early on to be mindful, are you continuing to make that person feel comfortable and valued even when you disagree? Then, our relationships are going to be so much better. And of course, you're going to have less conflict out in the world and in the workplace as well. Number 4, and this is such an important one, when people feel comfortable and valued, they're much more likely to genuinely connect with you as a person. And I mean, after all, isn't that what we all want? We want to connect with other people. And of course, our children are no different. Well, I can already hear you saying that's all fine and good, but my 4-year-old is not going to get etiquette. Yes, they could learn please, thank you, and I'm sorry, but I don't think it's going to happen beyond that. Well, here's where I'm going to say something a little bit radical. Most misbehavior in young children is really just a lack of skillfulness at manners. I'm going to say that again. Most misbehavior in young children is really just a lack of skills in manners. So, of course, it would follow if you teach your child good manners, you're going to have less misbehavior, right? So, let me give you an example. Say you have a 6-year-old and she's licking her finger and sticking it into the tops of cookies that you've just put out on a platter. And you say, honey, don't do that, you'll spread germs. And then a minute passes and she's doing the exact same thing. This time, a little more irritated, you say, I just said don't do that. Now you don't get a cookie. And off she goes. Fine, I don't get a cookie. So that went well, right? Well, we could address the situation as a manners issue. And in that case, it would go something like this. Same scenario, she's putting her spitting on her finger and putting it in the cookie. And you say, honey, do you think anyone's going to want to eat that cookie after you've put your spitty old finger on it? And see, here we're making her conscious of the effect that her behavior has on others. I don't think there's any kid out there who really wants to make other people unhappy. So in this case, your 6-year-old is probably going to look at you and say, oops, sorry. And when she does, you praise her. You're such a thoughtful person. I know you didn't really mean to keep others from having a cookie. What do you think you could have done? And she's probably going to say, not put my spitty old finger on the cookie. And you respond, that's right. You're so smart and considerate. I really like that about you. Well, now that sounds like a good way to handle it, right? The outcome was more positive. But do you really want to be doing that all day long? I mean, you can imagine with just that one little example how often a manners issue is going to come up. And you're going to be exhausted. It is so much easier if you have an organized, purposeful approach to teaching manners and you do it early on. You really do not want to be waiting for all those little scenarios to come up. You want to get ahead of them. And trust me, I mean, your job as a parent is going to be so much easier. And of course, your child will be building those skills that are going to help them tremendously in life. So, one thing that parents ask me is, how far do I take this etiquette thing? I don't want my child to stand out as odd. And, I would say if you teach your child to be conscious of the effect their behavior has on others, and they strive to make others feel comfortable and valued, they're going to know what to do or what the appropriate response is in any situation. I mean, I don't think you really need to worry about your son showing up to school and bowing to the girls and handing out a monogrammed hanky. But I do think if you teach him good manners and he sees a girl headed for a mud puddle, he's going to, alert her. Another question that I get frequently is, with so many adults in the media not using good manners, how am I going to convince my kids that it's important to do so? This is a tough one. I mean, it happens every day. We see things in the media, on YouTube, on TV, in the news, and it is hard. But, I think what we can do is we can tell our children, some adults were not made to feel comfortable or valued when they were growing up, and so they never learned good manners. But you are so lucky because you are learning good manners, and as a result, people will want to be around you. Well, what about all the formalities of etiquette? This is another one I get. I mean, are we really going to make little girls shake each other's hands when they first meet? What I have found is what makes children uncomfortable is when they don't know what to do. So if we can tell them what to do and we practice that skill with them, they're going to be confident about it and others are going to respond positively. So it's actually a lot easier when children know what to do. Well, what about all those mixed messages? I tell my children to use Mr. and Mrs. with adults, and then adults just say, oh, don't worry about it, you can call me by my first name. Doesn't that defeat the whole purpose of teaching etiquette to begin with? I say no. All you have to do, again, it's about what we tell our children to do. And in this case, you would have them say, oh, thank you, but my parents like me to use Mr. and Mrs. Trust me, your job as a parent is going to be so much easier, and your children are going to have happier, more successful relationships if you really give them the gift of good manners early on. It's totally doable. It's not about being stuffy and pompous. It's just about letting the people know that we come in contact with every day that they're respected. And the earlier our children learn how to do this, the sooner you're going to benefit as a parent, and of course, the sooner they'll benefit. So I know a lot of people think manners and etiquette is not really relevant today, but I hope that I've been able to show you that it is. And thank you so much for joining me. Next week, Monica will be here, and she is going to be talking about fundamentals for kids, what we're all about, how we can be of service to you. And so I hope you will join us. Thanks so much. Bye for now.